Again, the numbers, as you're going to hear from more from Dr. Weston, are higher again. 833 confirmed cases, 16 deaths, and 384 of those cases confirmed are African American. That's 46%, and that's the percentage that are confirmed. So I just want to highlight this is a trend that has continued through and just points out the urgent need to communicate and to look at our infrastructure to do better going forward as to what leads to this. But I just want to make sure that that is something that we talk. Nearly all of the fatalities have been African American. Always the message again, right now, the best thing we can do, stay home, save lives. I have worked and we are working at the county with both the governor's office, the mayor's office, and one thing we agree on is we are aggressively pursuing and will every dime of support we can get. There's a lot that's still unfolding, and obviously we're all paying attention to the congressional package, but the third package included about $150 billion for local governments. The number for Wisconsin, as I understand, is about $2.25 billion. But that's something that we're going to continue to track, and we want to make sure that the majority and the big chunk of that goes where the significant problem is happening, which is here in the densest population in the state. And obviously we'll have more updates. You'll hear more today from our clerk, the county clerk, George Christensen, as well as Julietta Henry from who does elections here at the county, as well as Neil Albrecht, counterpart over at the city, talking about elections. Suffice it to say, it's complicated and it's going to be complicated, but absentee ballots are the safest. Everybody has until tomorrow at 5 o'clock, pending any, changes by the case pending in the court. But one thing for certain we all know is now you can keep requesting an absentee ballot until tomorrow at 5 o'clock at myvote.wi.gov. And if you can get that in today, tomorrow before 5, please do. And with that, I will turn it over to the mayor.
Thank you, Mr. County Executive. And I want to reiterate how well the city and the county, as well as the state, have been working closely together, and how important it is as we work with our federal delegation to make sure that we're doing everything we can. The county executive hit it on the head again, of course, which is for everyday residents of our community, the most important thing that you can do is to stay home. Have the social distancing. That is how we're going to be able to combat this. I looked at the thermometer, it's 48 degrees. The sun is shining. We probably all have a little bit of spring fever, but we do not want to be in a situation where we are going to have to continue to have the type of shutdown that we're experiencing. And the more all of us, when I say all of us, I mean every part of this community complies with this, the quicker we'll get through this. I think there's vast cooperation with this up to this point. But we have seen a smattering today. We're getting a smattering of phone calls of employers who are not respecting it. We're getting a smattering of calls of individuals who are gathering in public places. And you're not doing yourself any favor, and you're not doing this community any favor if you're doing that. So our plea is going to remain the same. Please maintain the social distancing. That's very, very important. I've talked a number of times about how this is a healthcare crisis, which it is. It's an unprecedented healthcare crisis for almost all of us in our lifetime. But it's also an economic crisis. And that's something that we're very mindful of as well. And earlier today, I talked to a group of over a dozen bankers to talk about the role that they play in helping us make sure that our economy, once we get through these tumultuous waters, can get back up and running at full throttle. And so for small businesses in particular out there, if you are having problems, the person or the organization to contact is your bank or your lending institution. And when I say contact, I would try to do it through email or phone because some of these institutions are going to be closed for the physical entrance into them. But in the legislation, in the Paycheck Protection Act, that passed Congress. There's $349 billion to help organizations, businesses that have seen a significant loss of business, that have had an impact on their payroll, an impact on their utilities, an impact on their mortgage payments. And so what you can do, because again, in the conversation that I had with the financial institutions this morning, we want to amplify the process. And unlike previous processes for government programs in this area, which have been run through the Small Business Administration, the SBA, the financial institutions play a very key role in this. And so again, the first step for you to do is to contact your lending institution. It's important that you do some work so that you can present what your payroll has been, what your fixed costs have been, how much you're paying, for example, in rent, and get that information to them. The Treasury is going to, my understanding in talking to the financial institutions, start taking these applications later this week on Friday. But this is a place to start doing that. So we've got the health issue where you can stay at home. That's very, very important. On the business, again, for businesses, contact your lending institution. That's very, very important. The third issue that the county executive touched on is, of course, and we're going to hear from Neil and George and Julietta on this, I think, a little bit further, is the election, which is still scheduled for next Tuesday. As we speak, the federal court in Madison is hearing arguments about what role it should play, if any, and this is the federal court trying to decide what role it should play in a state election. I think we'll have more news coming out of the court probably within 24 to 48 hours. But to underscore what the county executive said, one thing we know for certain is that the safest way for you to vote is to vote absentee. And he talked about going to myvote.gov or myvote, help me with that, Chris, myvote, whatever.
It's myvote.wi.gov.
Okay, go to that site. And I did it Saturday for the first time. And I'll tell you, it's a little trickier than I thought. You have to upload, if you've never done it before, you have to upload a picture of your driver's license. Be patient, you'll be able to figure out. Again, I figured it out with the help of my wife, but I was able to figure it out. But you can still submit that today or tomorrow. And hopefully even longer than that. But we know we can at least submit it today and tomorrow. Then when you receive it, I think the safest way for you to get it back to us is to go to one of the 5 drop boxes that we have in the city of Milwaukee for those of you who live in the city of Milwaukee. You can go on the south side, you can go to Bayview Library or Zablocki Library. If you're in the downtown area or the near west side, you can go to the Zeidler Building, which is just east of City Hall. If you live on the north side or the west side, you can go to Washington Park Library or you can go to Mill Road Library. We have people there who are acting as witnesses, and Neil might want to talk a little bit about that. I am hopeful that we will get additional assistance from the courts in the next 24 to 48 hours. But again, I know for certain that this is a way to make sure your vote is heard. I will say what I said yesterday. At a time when this nation is telling people that they have to cancel funerals, that they have to cancel weddings, when all sporting events are canceled, when as far as I know, there's not a single another election in this country, I believe that our election could be the largest public event in this country in the month of April. I don't think that that's good public policy. I think it's dangerous during a pandemic. And I hope that people do not go to the polls on Tuesday. Even as much as I want them to vote, I do not want them to put their lives in jeopardy. I don't want them to put the health and safety of our poll workers in jeopardy. And I'm extremely thankful to the poll workers that are continuing to work. I'm extremely thankful to all the municipal employees and county employees that are continuing to work because they're really showing what public service is all about. So with that, I'm going to turn over to Dr. Weston, who's been a great partner in all this in helping us navigate a lot of the issues that we face through the healthcare system. Dr. Weston.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate that. Good afternoon. I will be brief today. We did, as County Executive ably mentioned, see a more pronounced increase in our number of confirmed COVID cases today. Again, 833 cases in Milwaukee County, as well as a very troubling increase in our deaths to 16 individuals. These individuals ranged in age from 49 years old to 89 years old. Though we know that this virus is typically more severe at older ages, we also know that it infects people of all ages. As we've seen and witnessed across the country, it also kills people of all ages. We continue to see a dramatic spread across all ages, also across all races, all genders. We need to slow this spread and slow the increase in deaths that we're seeing. And as has been mentioned, the way to do this, it is critical to minimize the number of trips outside of your home, socially distance, and stay at home. And I'll stop there for today. Thank you very much, and be safe.
Okay, thanks, Dr. Weston. Next, we wanted to hear from County Clerk George Christensen.
Thanks, Brian, and thank you for having me on. Well, so essentially, as many people know, Milwaukee County, our role as the Election Commission is to support the municipalities. It's each of the 19 municipalities within Milwaukee County. It's their role to manage their elections as best they can, especially under these trying times. And they're all working extremely diligently to meet all the absentee ballot request demands and to get ready for the 7th. And we know that several polling locations and several municipalities have consolidated polling locations, and you can go to their websites for that information as well as our websites for the contact on that, because they just don't have the people. And as Mayor Barrett had indicated, this is a dangerous time for people, and we can't ask our most at-risk population to be working the polls. And so I think that this is a challenge, and I really hope that we will see some relief this afternoon from Judge Connolly. I hope some relief would be better than no relief, and I hope that that we will get through this, and hopefully people will be safe.
Okay, thanks, Clerk Christensen. And I believe next in the agenda we had Neil Albrecht, the Executive Director of the City of Milwaukee's Election Commission.
Good afternoon, everybody. Neil Albrecht, Executive Director for the City of Milwaukee Election Commission. I can just briefly share some statistics in terms of voting in the City of Milwaukee and what we anticipate over the next couple of days. First of all, we are now up to having issued 75,000 absentee ballots by mail to voters in the City of Milwaukee. I always use the comparison of the number of absentee ballot by mail requests that we received in the 2016 presidential election, which was 15,000. So I think both on the local level, throughout all of the municipalities, and certainly on the state level as well, this is unprecedented, and we are seeing absentee ballot requests and absentee voting volume that is, sometimes as high as 500, 600, 700% higher than any previous elections. I'm happy to report that at least in the City of Milwaukee, we are caught up in terms of responding requests and mailing out ballots. I think that's particularly critical as the election day approaches, because as state law stands now, absentee ballots do have to be received by election day by April 7th. We have witnessed some pretty significant delays. I know Megan Wolf was the director of the Wisconsin Elections Commission, was reporting on this in the court hearing today, that the post office is identifying as much as a week for a person to receive their absentee ballot from the time it is mailed to as much as a week before that ballot can be returned to the municipal clerk. So we really have significant concern in the City of Milwaukee going forward with that statutory requirement that absentee ballots have to be received by April 7th. And we're hopeful that there will be some relief in this court case around being able to count those ballots. We've also shared that we are probably somewhere right now around 500 absentee ballots that are lacking witness signatures that have been returned to us. That's another area where we're seeking some relief on the state level. I think because of the concern and reality about the mail delivery time, I just want to underscore what the mayor stated earlier. At least in the city of Milwaukee, we have these 5 drop-off locations for ballots for people who don't want to rely on postal delivery for the return of the ballots. Mill Road Library, Washington Park Library, Zablocki Library, Bayview Library, and the Zeidler Building downtown. Those drop boxes are open from 8 a.m. in the morning until 1 o'clock in the afternoon. That will include election day, and there are staff at each of those drop boxes to be able to provide a witness signature. I do want to emphasize that only City of Milwaukee residents can drop their absentee ballots off at those drop boxes. We actually have had voters come in from the outlying municipalities attempting to drop off their absentee ballots. I guess finally, I would say we made the announcement yesterday that we were going to voting centers. Obviously, these voting centers are contradictory to good public health and the concept of avoiding community gatherings. We are so significantly short-staffed in the city of Milwaukee, perhaps not as bad as the 100 other municipalities in the state of Wisconsin that have reported that they have 0 election workers. We have a staff that continues to dwindle daily of somewhere around 400 election workers to support our voting centers. I'm hoping later on this afternoon we'll be able to release our voting centers, information related to those centers. We want to make sure that MyVote, the site that voters are frequently using, has the updated information so that any person that wants to identify their voting center can continue to use MyVote to locate that information. I guess my final statement would be we heard today through the media that the National Guard was going to be used at voting sites. This was a request that we had made to the state probably 45 to 60 days ago, and had previously been told that the use of the National Guard at polling places was off the table and that those individuals needed to be available and responsive to anything else that could occur on that day. It's a little too late really to integrate members of the National Guard into the operations of our polling sites right now, besides exercising obviously some good crowd management and enforcing of social distancing. So we continue to move forward and recruit, and we hear from members of the community that are still interested in being election workers, and we're hopeful to retain the staffing level that we have as of today. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Neil. And next, we wanted to hear from another local mayor, Mayor Kennedy, who I think has some creative solutions that they're working on in Glendale that he can talk about. Mayor Kennedy?
Yep, thank you very much. Actually, I'm not going to speak just about Glendale. I'm going to be talking about a number of our municipalities. In addition, obviously, to the city of Milwaukee, which makes up about 2/3 of the population of the county, we do have 18 other municipalities, and we all have to conduct our own elections. We have our own school districts. We have our own common councils and village boards. So we've all had to undertake, I guess, our own plans, our own designs for what we're going to do in our municipalities. So I can say that for us, we have been setting a record on absentee voting by mail. The city of Glendale is now at 50%. Bayside is at 60%. Franklin, 45%. So these are of registered voters. Just really impressive numbers of people that have requested ballots. So, for example, in my city, 50% of our registered voters have requested a ballot. We would expect about an 80% turnout in this election, which means another 30% of our electorate has yet to vote. So we are having to prepare for an election day. I know that in the city of Oak Creek, they have, because of a shortage of poll workers, they have actually condensed their polling sites down to just one, and they're going to be using city staff entirely in the city of Oak Creek. Here in Glendale, we actually undertook something rather unique. we reached out to a number of high school seniors as well as college students who are currently at home because their college campuses have closed. And we are probably going to have the youngest group of poll workers that we have ever had in our city's elections because they're going to be staffed by probably about a third to half of our poll workers are going to be between the ages of about 18 and 25 or so. So we've had to go out and find new poll workers because in most elections, our elections are staffed by people who are retired and often well over 70 years of age. And so something unique that we've done here, and I know a number of the other North Shore communities have done the same thing. So, and then I guess lastly, I would add is that most of us have had to close our village halls and city halls because we have significantly smaller staff than some of the larger municipalities, so Milwaukee, West Allis, et cetera. And so we've had to close our halls. But we do have drop boxes for people to drop off their ballots.